This evening in our auditorium class, we took the time to look at the life of King Solomon as it's given to us in the book of 1 Kings. And we were able to talk about many of the things that went on in his life, but certainly not all of them. And one of the things we just mentioned at the end was the fact that he wrote the book of Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes is a different kind of book in the Bible. You see, Solomon writes it from the point of view of trying to find meaning or purpose in life apart from God. He had basically everything at his disposal. He was a king. He was the wealthiest man in the world. And so he tried every avenue, whatever it might be. And yet he found that that wasn't what brought meaning in life. In fact, I'm pretty sure that if he were to meet with a psychiatrist while he wrote the book of Ecclesiastes, they would have said he was suffering from depression. And I suppose he was, because without God, life can become depressing. Life is depressing without him. Look at a few things that he wrote. This is from Ecclesiastes chapter 2 and verse 11. He says, "Then I looked on all the works that my hands had done, and on the labor in which I had toiled. And indeed, all was vanity and grasping for the wind. There was no profit under the sun." There's nothing to it. Chapter 2 and verse 17. "Therefore I hated life, because the work that was done under the sun was distressing to me. For all is vanity and grasping at wind." Chapter 4 and verse 3. After he had just talked about the living and the dead, he said, "Yet better than both is he who has never existed, who has not seen the evil work that is done under the sun." He says it's better to never have been born than to be alive or to be dead, because of all the struggles there are or can be in this life. In chapter 5 and verse 16, "And this also is a severe evil. Just exactly as he came, so shall he go. And what profit has he who has labored for the wind?" You don't get to take it with you, no matter how much you accumulate. In chapter 8 and verse 14, "There is a vanity which occurs on earth, that there are just men to whom it happens according to the works of the wicked. Again, there are wicked men to whom it happens according to the work of the righteous. I said that this also is vanity." Chapter 9 and verse 2, "All things come alike to all. One event happens to the righteous and to the wicked, to the good, the clean, and the unclean, to him who sacrifices and him who does not sacrifice. As is the good, so is the sinner. He who takes an oath, as he who fears an oath." And that one event, of course, is death, where he says it comes to the good and the evil just the same. And so as he looked at all the things around him in this earth, apart from God, all he could say is there's no meaning to it. There is no purpose to it. But then we see the end. Ecclesiastes 12 and verse 13 and 14, where Solomon comes to this great realization. Here's the meaning of life. It's not about collecting things. It's not about entertaining yourself. It's not about fame and fortune or anything like that. Instead, he says, "Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is man's all. For God will bring every work into judgment, including every secret thing, whether good or evil." Folks, Solomon with the experiences that he went through, shows us that apart from God, this life doesn't have a great deal of significance. But with God, well, it makes all the difference in the world. Because we're here for just a little while to prepare ourselves for eternity, to reverence our God, and to walk in his ways, knowing one day we'll stand before him in judgment. I don't want anyone here to leave in a bad mood or glum or downhearted or anything like that, because we don't have to live a life without God. We can enjoy his blessings and his promise to always be with us if we will come to him through his Son. And so tonight, if you're here and you're not yet a child of God, we want to encourage you to come to Christ and put him on in baptism for the forgiveness of your sins. And if you've taken that step but you've fallen away and you need to come back, we want to pray with you and for you. Folks, if you're subject in any way, please come. And come now as together we stand and sing this good song.